of what God thought of us while we were sinners. Because we thought he hated us while we were sinners. But he sent his son to demonstrate his love for us, telling us that I love you even while you're yet a sinner.
Just like he told Adam.
Right. I mean, a sinner just means that you missed the mark.
Right.
And what mark? We think God's mark for our life is that we could have good behavior. Listen, man, God's dream for your life isn't that you could have good behavior. His dream for your life isn't that you could mind your P's and Q's. His dream for your life is that you could live eternally and experience his love, his joy, his peace, his kindness, his long suffering, his meekness, his faithfulness. That's his dream for your life. We missed the mark because we tried to experience those things through the flesh.
Yes.
You can't have it through the flesh. So we missed the mark. We weren't partaking of God's life. We weren't partaking of what he dreamt for our life. And so we were sinners. You see, we think the word sinner means that we were like the devil.
Yes.
That's how we interpret it.
Absolutely.
We sinner's an identity thing in our minds.
Yeah.
So if a person's a sinner, that's who they are. They're the devil. But a sinner just means that you're not partaking in the life God come to give you for free.
Yeah.
That's all it means. It actually says that in the Greek, to not be a partaker of. It actually says that in the Hebrew, to miss the mark.
Right.
God had a mark for your life. It wasn't that you could follow the rules. His mark for your life was that you would live eternally and never die so that he could spend all his days loving you. We missed the mark because we were perishing.
Right. There's nothing in there about the knowledge of good and evil in missing that mark.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like you just defined God's will for our lives.
Yeah, that's God's will for our life. And we could go a long way in understanding if we could even just see that. I mean, think about it. Why do you guys have kids? Was it so they can follow all your rules?
No.
That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why do we think that about God? We think as if the number one goal he has in mind for our life is for us to follow all the rules.
Yeah. And to serve him.
Like that's his number one goal.
Yeah.
Listen, if that was his number one goal, he would have made us as robots.
Right.
He wouldn't have made us in his image with a heart that had the ability to reason and to accept or reject. He would have just made us robots. If his end goal was for us just to obey the rules. But his end goal was that we could feel what he feels. Love.
Yeah.
And that we could live eternally with him in this wonderful thing called love.
Yeah.
Now, we partook of a system that was bringing forth death in us. So we missed his mark for our life. We missed his dream for our life. It's like my parents had a dream for my life when I was born. They saw this beauty in me, and they saw all these things. Wow, look at this guy. Look at, man, he's just like us. Look at, man, this is wonderful. And they have this dream for my life. And then somewhere along the way, I strayed from their love, and man, I took on a bunch of lies, and I started doing drugs all the time. And I ended up dead on a hospital bed. You see, they had a dream for my life, and I was missing the mark.
Yes.
Do you see?
Yeah.
Do you see what that's like?
Great.
I didn't stop being their child, but I wasn't experiencing the life that they'd always dreamt for me, that they knew I was made for.
Right.
I was experiencing a whole other kind of life. I was missing the mark. Their goal wasn't that I would follow the rules.
Yeah.
Their goal was that I live and enjoy life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And real quickly after that, you talk to my parents, you know, we had all these great abilities, and they were like, oh man, these kids are going to get scholarships, academic and athletic scholarships, glory to God. My dad said real quick after that night where they see me laying dead on the hospital bed and I had to be resuscitated. I'm in 8th grade at that point. He said real quick it changed from all these things to how can we keep these kids alive till they see the light again? We just got to keep them alive. I mean, it went from how can we help them get to, you know, CU and a track scholarship? How can we help them get to the Olympics? How can we help them to, we just got to keep them alive till they come out of this.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the whole thing changed. You see, I was missing the mark. Well, that's how it was for God. He didn't look at us and think, well, my goodness, what are we going to do about their disobedience? That's the thing, that's the problem. No, he said, what are we going to do about the fact that man can't see us as their father anymore? They don't see us as wonderful counselor. Prince of Peace, Everlasting Father.
Yeah.
They don't see us as Emmanuel. They see us as the thief that steals, kills, and destroys.
Right.
What are we going to do so that we can redeem them from that?
Yeah.
And we can save them from the death they're dying. And they can hit the mark.
Yeah.
Jesus come as a man and he hit the mark. What was the mark? Immortality and human flesh.
Amen.
Seated at the right hand of God.
Hallelujah.
Jesus hit the mark. How did he hit the mark? He said, I'm not going to lift one finger to exalt myself there. Not by my good fruit, Lord, will I be exalted, but by you and your strength. Jesus, when Jesus was hanging on the cross and they were like, if you are the Son of God, Jesus didn't say, I loved perfectly. He didn't say, I was always kind. He didn't say, Father, I loved them even when they hated me.
Yeah.
He didn't say that. He didn't look to his works when he was hanging there dying on the cross. He looked to God's love for him and God's desire to be with him. He knew God had drawn near to him and that God had drawn near to him even when he was dead in sin. Like Maurice said, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Jesus received strength from that word.
Yes.
His life was animated by that word with grace. And then that grace strengthened him to not open his mouth when he was standing with Pontius Pilate. It strengthened him to not open his mouth when he was hanging on the cross. It strengthened him to rest on the cross. It strengthened him to cry out, Abba. It strengthened him to forgive.
Yeah.
You see how that works?
Yeah.